Fresh from the shipping warp, I've got the new Black Legionnaires from JOYTOY, the Chaos Chosen. They are blessed by gifts from the ruinous powers. A third eye in the front makes you irresistible, but what about some fangs in your power fist, or an eye popping out of your chest armor? It is as disgusting as it is impressive. The champion with the huge mole and the Wolverine guy were my favorites, but in the end I got the entire set because I needed reinforcements for my few other traitors I have. Let's make the galaxy burn. Let's use these two chosen for looking at the boxes, and there are no surprises. It is the classic layout we are used to. And the chosen with the lightning claws has no other accessory but the backpack, while the crazy plum-faced comes armed with a bolt pistol and a classic bolter, with blacklegion iconography of course. There are a lot of nice details in the sculpt, and the paint job is quite rich, even if it seems to be lacking in the finishing touches, especially for the golden parts that would have deserved some inking. There are some highlights for the black armor, especially where the chaos gifts are sprouting out, but I think that a more thorough paint job would have been welcome. But all in all, they are all well over the quality of the average Warhammer figures we are used to. Let's take a closer look at a few of them, and we start with the champion who looks to be the proper leader for this warband of corrupted elites. The details are very good all around, with some parts like those demon shin guards that are very nicely painted. The cape is red, without any highlights, but some light dark shading, and the backpack is covered with this neat bone-like spine that well integrates with the armor, including those two skulls recycled as exhaust, I hope. There is a nice belt decoration in metal cord on the front, and if we move to the head, it looks properly evil, with the additional bones of this harness that includes some of the victims our champion seems to be the most proud of. Next is the Wolverine guy, because I like it too much. It looks like the prototype chaosmarine predator that I need for hunting down loyalist marines. And we can use him for showing that all these figures have the new improved pauldrons articulations that are, pun intended, the real blessing for these figures. Those huge pauldrons, in fact, are now no problem for giving our figures some of the most dynamic poses, and there is no risk to have dangling armor parts all around. Definitely this needs to become the standard for all new figures. The Chaos Wolverine has the most detailed armor sculpt of the group, with all these chaos gifts bumping out of the armor, and you can admire how the ceramite armor is torn apart, with some nice highlights all around to give the proper depth to the entire sculpture. Then we have a unique ram-like buckle holding the pelt tabard. I think he is the most gifted of the group, even beating the three-eyed guys. And let's take the calm dude to show that he has a removable hair, but you will need to plug the hole in the skull in some way. In my case, I appreciate the fact that I can orient the hair so that it does not impede the movement because of the huge backpack. The face sculpt of these figures is some of the best that I've seen so far, with the eyes being even screened straight and properly. A lot of wrinkles on the skin add to the details, even if the paint is quite monotone. He has quite a nice leather-like tabard on the front that again lacks some highlights. The contrast with the rest of the armor is nice though. The backpack looks quite conventional in terms of corruption levels. I must say that if we ignore the head, he is the most conventional of all these chosen legionaries. Well, at least if we ignore the chosen with the horned helmet, who can show us that we still have the same pauldrons engineering for a great T-pose. And he and the screaming three-eyed chosen have this nice holster for their bolter weapons. First time that I see it, but it is quite handy, even if fitting the weapon is a bit of a challenge. Legs posing has not many limits, at least if you try on the back. The joints are the modern ones, but of course those big tabards and huge knives do not help if you want to practice Spartan kicks in the Warhammer way. Okay, enough of articulations and armors, and let's move to the weapons. The one I like the most is the powerarmor used by the champion. which compares favorably to the golden chain axe used by the other chosen colleague. They are quite big weapons compared to the figures themselves, which is good. Then we have more conventional chainswords decorated in black legion colors, and does not look like anything special compared to what we are used to. And if we take a look at the fire weapons, we have a good variety with this red combi plasma and bolt rifle. There is also a combi melta for more heavily armored targets that adds variety to the armory for our chosen marines. Then we have another red plasma pistol with a nice yellow striped cable, and finally another bolter and a bolt pistol that look nothing special. Time to equip our chosen and put them on some proper pose. Since I did not like those flattened gold parts, especially when they are full of rivets, I inked them with some reddish brownish color. It is a simple way to make the details pop up and give some more depth to those amazing sculpts these figures have. So far I found that Citadel Reichland shade works great for gold, while any steel-like paint will work for the weapons and armors, while some other tones from white to bone white and light brown are good options for the pouches and the pistol holsters. I focus on rivets to make them more evident and those intricate details of the pauldrons and the shin guards. I think that the result makes the figures more interesting, and I use this trick on most of the figures I've got recently to give them some life. Of course, it depends on personal tastes. Let me know in the comments if you like the figures with factory settings. I appreciate the fact that I did not have any quality control issues in this batch, regarding paint application, missing parts or loose joints. Everything moves and works perfectly. They all look and move great, keeping their pose without any problems. My only regret is that JOYTOY should have pushed more for the paint finishing, given the quality of the engineering and the sculpt of these figures. These chosen are an integration to the now quite old previous Black Legion wave, that included a lot of cool figures, so it makes sense to immediately compare them to their older colleagues. The color scheme is a perfect match from the black to the gold. The skin tone for the chosen is more normal pinkish color, giving up the sick grey color. The scale creep is evident, but at least they can blend on the shelves without too many questions. And while the luck highlights in most cases, from an engineering perspective instead, the new figures are light years more advanced than the older guys. Joints are much sturdier and can move without risk of breaking shoulders or having the figure leaning forward or backward and falling down. I hope we will get some improved Chaos Terminators in the future, since the current ones look quite silly compared to these new chosen. Definitely they look like belonging to different lines, but we all know that Chaos Terminators were a direct port of the miniatures without any changes. It is now time to review those choices, I guess, and this applies to all other figures too, like the Chaos Havocs. Please JOYTOY, give them an update now that you have the right recipe. If we get in the line the Black Templars, they also suffer from being direct ports of the miniatures. Even High Marshal Helbrecht has an hard time against this new breed of chaosmarines. He will probably enjoy the increase in challenge, but weren't the primaries bigger and stronger? I guess they should give up to the ruinous powers and benefit from their gifts instead. Good news is that now the Cadians look probably overwhelmed by Astarte's sides, and we take a look to other figures. From older to more recent, the situation improves a tiny bit for our loyalist marines. The Blackguard 1.0 is pretty much hopeless. Space Marines in Phobos armors look like kids with guns. All lieutenants like Erasmus can probably go to hide in the rear. The imperialfist aggressor should think twice, but he has huge weapons. And other more recent figures like the Blackguard captain with the relic shield and Messinius from the White Consul are almost catching up. What about the chapter masters? Well, Marnius Calgar will probably need to wait for his Space Marine 2 version to take vengeance on these traitors, while Azrael from the Dark Angels will have to wait a long time, we don't know how long. To bring balance, we need to move forward to Terminator's figures from the Deathwing, for example, or the first Captain Ageman from the Ultramarines. And finally, Space Marine 2 figures are the way to go, with Chiron evening the playfield. And for completion's sake, the Blood Angels from the horusheresy line are also able to hold their own against the Chaos Chosen. Even if there are quite noticeable size discrepancies between older and newer figures, they still blend quite nicely together. What I will do is to strategically arrange the shelves so that the smaller ones are on the background, or they play dead for the benefit of the show. I never got the full lineup of the older figures, since I only needed some bad guys to make my good guys look even cooler. But I'm pretty happy to have given some reinforcement to my Chaos warband. Now they are more properly menacing for the many ultramarines that I have around, waiting for some challenge. When setting up this scene, I again appreciated how easy are these new figures to pose compared to the older ones that are plagued by loose joints and strange miniature proportions or heavy capes that make them super difficult to pose in something that looks barely acceptable. So big thumbs up for JOYTOY. In my opinion, the entire set is worth, and there are many ways to save some money anyway. If I had to rank them, I will say that my favorites are the champion and the chosen with lightning claws, followed by all others. The champion has that huge power maul and is the prototype bad guy that you want to pose against your favorite space marine. The Wolverine has a unique look and weapons loadout, and in my opinion he has the best sculpt and paint job of the group. The remaining three are not far away, but I will say that they rank behind. Let me know what is your personal ranking instead. While the new improvements to action figures are making older ones look somewhat outdated, I think that the progress we are getting is still a good thing. The figures look amazing and they are a pleasure to play with. In this way we have got the optimum balance of grit engineering a look. Hopefully next releases will keep this level of progress and build on it. What we need now is a way to improve the paint job, like it was done in the past. Will this become a reality? We can only hope. Having said that, I wish you a nice rest of the day, painting hundreds of rivets to make your figures look more awesome than ever.